Brett McLean was a part of Refuge Christian Fellowship for about 2 years. And in those 2 years, he impacted the lives of dozens of people within the church. There are multiple stories of Brett seeking out opportunities to disciple and to be a part and being just a very crucial part of the workings of the church. And we at Refuge thought it would be appropriate to compile a video of just a few of the ways that Brett has just been so important in the way that he's poured into the lives of people here at the church. So this video is just a small testimony to the joy, the energy, and the blessing that Brett was to Refuge Fellowship in Santa Rosa, California.
Probably one of my favorite personal experiences with Brett. We were at men's group one night and we were talking and we must have talked for 2 hours, just hanging out. We walked home together and he was telling me he was having a hard time at work, just working early and working with people that he didn't get along with very well or something. And so I told him I was going to call him at 4:30 in the morning and talk to him while he walked to work. And it was convenient because when I called him, he said he was going to ride his motorcycle because he was really cool and rode motorcycles. But he fell off of his motorcycle when he got on it and it wouldn't start. So we just talked for 20 minutes before we went to work. And from that point on, we had a very close relationship and we were always able to just be very honest and open and tender-hearted. And I think that was the most beautiful thing about Brett, was that his ability to just go outside of himself and separate himself from the chaos of life and the world and be able to just be so genuine and loving to everyone. And I'm very thankful for that, and his able to get that from him and be able to be inspired to be more of a loving person and honest and okay with who you are. And I love you, Brett.
So, one of my favorite memories of Brett was like we were going out to we were going to walk across the Golden Gate Bridge after church one Sunday, but before we could do that, we had to go get something to eat. So I went with Brett about to the house where he lived, and then so we were looking around for something to eat. We found some pickles, mayo, ham, and a tortilla. So what did we do? We wrapped the pickles and ham and wrapped all that in the tortilla with a mayo somewhere in there. It wasn't the best, but it was all he had at the time.
So when I first met Brett, I was under the impression that he was just a really quiet guy, and I quickly learned that I was wrong in my impression. And Brett was really, I would say, around here, he was a rock to the people around him. If he wasn't planning having people around, he was finding them and really was the life of the party. And something I'll always remember about him was my 22nd birthday. I had a big birthday bash and it was kind of like country western themed, and he sent me a text message and he said, I have a really big surprise for you. And I was kind of like, how's he gonna surprise me? What can he possibly do? Is he gonna show up riding a pony? And so I remember just being in my backyard talking to a few people, and he walks in and he's dressed as a sheep. And I don't know where he got the costume from, but he was dressed as a sheep, and he said he was here to party. And the closest thing that he could find to a cow was the sheep, and so that's why he showed up as a sheep. And it was a good kickoff to just a fun time. And that was one way that I remember Brett, was just the amount of fun and energy that he brought to the people around him, and just how positive he was. And it made a huge impact on me, just teaching me to not really worry about what people around me thought, and above else, like his love for Christ and how it showed through that. And he had no problem just sharing the gospel with anyone, and that comes down to not caring what people really think. And it was just Christ's love that was through him that just brought all that love, fun, and energy. And that's one way that I'll always remember Brett.
Hello everyone. I wrote down what I was going to say so I don't forget. My name's Taylor, and I met Brett for the first time 3 years ago. And about 2 years ago we lived together for 7 months in Santa Rosa. In that time I got to know and love a young man who will forever have a lasting impact on me. Between our laughter, adventures, and serious talks, Brett quickly became one of my most trusted friends. And that time we lived together, I was going through a lot with a former girlfriend and my walk with the Lord. Brett was there through it all. I would sit down in his room against the bookshelf and we would talk for hours. He never judged me. He never told me he didn't have the time to talk or know what to say. He listened for as long as it took and gave me the best brotherly and godly advice he knew. At the end, he would embrace me with a hug, and I walked away knowing I had a true friend in Brett. Some of my fondest memories of Brett are running in the rain for miles and miles, singing church songs, going to Costco with him while he was wearing his Heelys. I was so embarrassed, but he needed them because they're what he called his shopping shoes. Also him shaving an eagle, holding a snake into his chest hair one rainy Saturday. I think we all know how hairy he was. I thank God that he put Brett in my life, and I'm sorry for everyone's loss. I know Brett has now finally reached his ultimate goal of being with the Lord. He left this world being the hero that he has been to me and so many, including myself. Until I get to laugh with him again, I have so many memories to remember him by. He left this shirt in my room when he moved away. I was gonna wear it today, but it doesn't exactly fit me quite well, so I just decided I'd bring it along with me. I'm thankful for the opportunity to get to speak in this video, and I hope it just shows how much he touched my life, and God bless everyone.
Brett. I don't know, just the first thing that comes to mind when I think about Brett is how I met him. It was just a fluke circumstance. I went to a Bible study randomly. I wasn't actually supposed to be there. I was supposed to be at a different Bible study, and that's where I met him and Parker and Patrick McGrath, and just immediately these guys just stood out to me, and especially Brett, because he's like, "You're the pastor from Refuge Christian Fellowship." It's like, "Yes, I am," and just immediately hit it off, and just Brett was so great. He just came right to Refuge and began to invest just in the different needs and invest in relationships, and he just always brought such life and I guess life, yeah, just through his personality, through his passion, just to the fellowship there, and always had some interesting facial hair and different outfits that I can recall even right now. But I just particularly think of Brett and I would meet on a weekly basis and study the Bible together. And I remember one time he just came to me, he's like, you need to explain to me the book of Romans. I have no idea what it means. I need to understand it. And so I remember we began to walk through the book of Romans. I remember specifically this one time we had a turkey leg that was like this big, and I'm trying to talk to him about Romans, and he kept just like interrupting me by just showing me his turkey leg and marveling about how big it was. And I don't know, I was just thinking about how much Brett just blessed me as a pastor, and how he was always there just to make himself available to whatever needs there were, and faithfully served in the children's ministry, was at every event, and again, just full of life and passion for Jesus. So yeah, we love him, we're going to miss him, and we're excited to see him again one day.
Hello, McLean family. I'm Linnea. I had the privilege of spending the summer of 2009 with Brett. We were really close friends, and I'm sure most of you know that he loved this sheep outfit. And I thought, because I saw on one of the pictures you were wondering what the story behind this is, and so I thought I would share it. So it was a Tuesday night, and Brett would always come out and play Human Clue with us, and we decided that we were going to be Little Bo Peep and her gangster sheep. He decided he wanted to be Little Bo Peep, and so couldn't fight him on that. So he wore a blonde wig and a mini skirt. And somehow after Clue, he ended up with a sheep outfit on, and I had one on as well. And we decided that because it was cold outside, and why not, we would leave them on. And so we ended up leaving them on, and we were hanging out in the chapel, and we were just laying on the stage just talking in our sheep outfits. And I think either he refused to take it off or decided he was gonna keep it. And so late that night at about 12:30, he rode home on his red scooter with his sheep outfit on. And one random day, it ended up back on my porch. And that's the story of this outfit. On a deeper level, Brett and I, we really got to know each other, and just really we were used in each other's lives that summer. I was looking back at my journals, and I was just able to see how the Lord used us both in each other's lives in that season. I just prayed for him for 3 months, just that the Lord would strengthen him and use him in the lives of the campers, and as much as my heart is broken that he isn't here, I'm blessed to see that those prayers were answered just through personal testimonies of people online, and just through his love for Christ. And so I hope that this video blesses you guys.
I had the blessing and privilege of knowing Brett all 2 years of his time here in Refuge, and we got pretty close. We got to share a lot of memories together, and share a lot of conversations about the Lord, and talk about our struggles together, and how we could better serve the Lord together. And I'm just going to share a couple ones that really jump out at me thinking back through our relationship. The first one was snowboarding. I'm sure most of you are aware by now that Brett chooses to snowboard in a pink jumpsuit and a helmet made for probably a 12-year-old that is for racing or something, and goggles that are definitely from the 80s. And so we got to go to Tahoe together and snowboard, and I've been snowboarding for a while, and so we would do this thing where as we're going down the hill, I would shout out to Brett, acting like I was teaching him new tricks. And Brett would look, first of all, Brett is an amazing snowboarder. It's so much fun to ride with him when he's being serious, which is rare. And so Brett would be going down the hill like out of control, yelling like, I don't know how to do this, Ryan. And I'd be like, Brett, you're doing great. And by this point we have everybody's attention in the terrain park, and Brett would go up to these huge 40-foot kickers, and I'd just yell out commands, okay, Brett, you're gonna do a backflip. and he'd be like, "What's a backflip?" And everybody's watching, and Brett would just throw this beautiful backflip, land it, and then as he lands, like he's not actually falling, but act like he's falling and yell, "That was amazing!" And the whole thing was just staged, and the whole park just was like laughing and scared and terrified that this beginner snowboarder was throwing these massive backflips. And then he'd get to the top of the lift, and as we're coming down the hill, he'd slide on his back, and he'd just be sliding down the hill so fast in this yellow pink jumpsuit, and everyone is just laughing, and kids are just like hysterical on the floor, and that's just a taste of the energy and just the fun that we got to have together. And even in those scenarios, there's so much joy that's being brought to the people in the resort, and just even people who didn't know Brett were affected by him, and he just brought so much joy. There's so many stories like that, but on a more serious note, I remember sitting on top of my roof multiple nights, just us sharing our struggles with each other, the ways that we sin and the ways that we kind of seek to be more like Jesus. And those nights are just so precious to me, sitting there with Brett and praying over him and him praying over me, and us together just trying to figure out how we would seek the Lord together. And I remember one time I didn't have a job for like 8 months, and I was living really dependent on the Lord, and I didn't have money for rent, and it was 2 or 3 days before my rent was due, and I get a text from Brett, and he said, "Hey, I don't know why, but the Lord told me to give you this amount of money." And I don't remember, I think it was like $250, and I needed $240 to pay my rent, and that gave me $10 of gas to put in my car so I could get to church. And it was just such a blessing the way that Brett kind of like was obedient to that call, and the way the Lord used him. And just one more story to end on. When the Where the Wild Things movie came out, Brett was just ecstatic. He's so excited. He loved that book as a child. And so he threw a Where the Wild Things Are party, and about 15 of our friends came over to his apartment, and we all were dressed in pajamas, and he read us the book with just so much energy and enthusiasm. And after we read the book, we all headed to the movie theater and watched the movie together as a group. And that was just such a special, such a just unique night in my memory, thinking through like what Brett was to this community, and just kind of an example of how he was so community focused, bringing the community together for just events like that, and just reaching out to people and just filling their lives with joy. So I'm truly excited and blessed that I got to know Brett, and I'm going to miss him.
I didn't really know Brett that well. I only met him about 2-3 times max, but one of my fun moments of actually hanging out with him was we were all skating up in Fountain Grove, I believe, and he had this big tank of a longboard, an Evo, and he decided instead of riding it normally, he was going to lay down on it and just luge. And so he was doing that all through the hills, all the courses we went through. And at one point he was wondering how fast he was actually going, so he took his phone, got an app out that I guess was a GPS thing, so it would tell you how fast you're going. So he laid down on the board on the top of a hill, put the phone in his mouth, and then just shot down the hill. We were following him in a car just to pick him up at the bottom. At the bottom of the hill, it kind of bowls out and comes to a stop up at top. He stopped up there, and then right as he stopped, a whole family of deer shot out in front of him. So that was probably one of my fondest moments with Brett. I just wish I had a chance to get more moments like that with him.
My fondest memory or memories of Brett is seeing him just sit in the front row at Refuge and always be standing up, worshiping the Lord with his hands raised, just content to be worshiping the Lord. So I gotta say that is my fondest memory of Brett.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I met Brett when he started coming to Refuge. I got to know him a little bit better when my youngest son was a roommate of his towards the end of Brett's time living in Santa Rosa. I have many funny stories, as I know most of you do also, of Brett, and he's also my Facebook friend, so I felt like I kind of continued to you know, see his posts, watch his videos, see all of his fun pictures. My favorite video of Brett's is the Bieber one, and my favorite photo of him is he's in like a bear suit of some kind, and he's got a rifle and a hat on. I love that picture. Brett, as we all know, just loved life. He also had a real gift for loving people despite who they were, what they were going through. Brett has a special place in my heart because he continued to be a friend to my youngest son during some really difficult times when a lot of other people sort of turned their back on Taylor and had no more grace for him. And Brett always did and was always a friend to him. And for that, I'm grateful to Brett. I took a little inventory of my life and in reflection of Brett's death, and what I realized about Brett is that he really invested in people. And I'm a list person and a task person, so I'm always focused on that. I want to just tell someone, look, you need to know Jesus, but then I'm on to my list. And Brett really took time to listen to people, to spend time with them, to get to know them. And I think through that, it just led people to the Lord, and it also just impacted people's lives. And I truly believe that his earthly ministry will continue on even though he's in heaven right now. And my mother's heart is breaking for all the young men at Refuge who are grieving over Brett, but it's also breaking for all of you who saw him more regularly on a daily basis, some of you. Of course, my heart is breaking for his mother, and I will continue to pray for all of you. I've thanked the Lord many times for the gift of Brett, and I know for sure that I'll never forget him, and I will continue to pray for you all, and I'm just grateful to have known him, and I so appreciate that you have continued with this Facebook. I'm just touched, as I can't even imagine you are, by the stories and the photos. I love that his friends are doing some of the younger photos of him, and just stories of proms and trips, and just and there's one constant through all of that. His gorgeous eyes and his beautiful smile never ever changed, and he was just really a blessing. I am also praying for Caleb's family, and also for the man that tried to rescue him, that has a young son, and his mother specifically requested out of just very gracious heart that we would continue to lift him up. And so I am, and just know that Brett was very loved in Sonoma County. Thank you.
It was May 2010. I was about month and a half out from graduating high school, one of the high schools here in Santa Rosa. And I had kind of stumbled into Refuge Christian Fellowship here in Santa Rosa with a pretty broken heart. And it was very transparent to the members here that I really needed some encouragement. I really needed friendship, true friendship in the Lord. And I came to the men's fellowship after coming to church for about a week, and began to open up about like who I was, and like what was going on with me, and how broken I was. And of all the guys, there were so many guys there that reached out to me, but one of the guys that struck me in particular, of course, was a guy named Brett. And Brett was just this really funny, quirky guy that I was really taken by. And I remember thinking in my head, it's like, I need to I need to totally hang out with this guy. He seems like a totally cool dude. Should definitely try to connect with him and pick his brain about some stuff. And after the first men's fellowship, after I was able to open up, Brett reached out to me immediately and was like, "Hey man, I would love to hang out with you. You know, I can tell you're going through some stuff, and you know, I want to let you know that I've gone through some things too, so I know what pain is." And he came over to my house after he got off work and picked me up, and we went longboarding all around Santa Rosa. And that whole day, I was like just super depressed because I had been going through so much tribulation, and I didn't know Jesus really at the time. I thought I did, but you know, as I later learned, I didn't. And Brett was one of the guys that lovingly showed me that. And the way that he conducted himself was very different than anybody that I'd ever met. I feel like I can confidently say that Brett was truly a unique person, and it was 100% because of Jesus that Brett was the way he was. I would have to say, you know, there were things that were just kind of embedded in Brett's heart from birth that the Lord gave him that were manifested by the time that I met him, that were really a part of him. And then there were a lot of other ways that he chose to be. And one of the ways that he chose to be was just this guy who used his humor, which he had a lot of, and his enthusiasm about everything for Christ. I think he was a guy who just identified that all of these things that were in his heart came from the Lord, and he chose to express them in a godly manner. And so he was a guy that just had so much joy, and there was never a dull moment with him. He was always smiling. I remember there was this a gym that he worked at here in Healdsburg. He got me on his membership for that summer before I left for a missions trip. And so I worked out there periodically. And I remember he was a maintenance guy, and he was coming into the men's locker room, and there was this guy, kind of a rich dude, really like propped up in himself, kind of walked around sort of like, hey, look at me, smart guy, I have the whole world behind me, blah blah blah, I'm invincible. And he walks up to Brett, and there's Brett, just smiling dude, like, you know, just being a weirdo. And this guy walks up to him, and just in the most prideful tone, he was like, why are you smiling all the time? Like, what do you got to be happy about? And Brett like stops and just looks the dude square in the face. He's like, dude, I got Jesus. Like, he has saved me from my sin. He has made me a new person. He has healed my heart of all the pain I've ever gone through. He's going to continue to do it even when I stumble. He loves me just no matter what I do. He always loves me. And he's like, man, the God of all the universe has given me the ability to choose him, so I'm choosing him. And that's why I'm happy, that's why I'm smiling all the time. And that was Brett. Like, that was 100% Brett. Ever since that moment, I was like, I want to be like that. You know, and there were so many ways I used to go up to Brett and be like, dude, I want to be like you. Like, I want to be exactly like you. And I think what I was really asking, which he put in perspective for me, is like, you don't want to be like me. Who you want to be like is Jesus, because that's who I'm trying to be like. And it was true. And ever since then, really, I've been trying to be like Jesus, and a lot of the things that Brett felt and said and did and thought, I had noticed about myself when I got saved. And it saved my life, really. You know, Brett's friendship was I would say probably one of the biggest catalysts in me coming to Christ. I'm forever grateful to Brett that he allowed the Lord to use him to get to me. I have many great friends who I love very much, but Brett was probably one of the best I've ever had. I hadn't seen him in about a year when I found out about his passing, but it crushed me. But I know it's okay to grieve, but I can't help but just be super stoked and super jealous for that guy because he gets to go be with Jesus. And I know that of all the people I have ever known that really understood that hope that we have in Christ that the Apostle Paul talks about in his epistles, I think Brett was one of the guys who really understood that and literally lived like it. One of the things, I guess, the most important thing that Brett taught me, that the Lord taught to me through Brett, was that we literally have hope in Jesus Christ because of what he's done and because of his love for us. Therefore, we should literally live like we have that hope. Of all the people that knew Brett here, we were all touched by him so deeply. I'm sure that there are many other people that Brett impacted like me. I'm sure there are a few others that came to Christ, because the Lord used Brett's friendship with them, and and we just loved him so dearly. When he moved, there seemed to be no air in Santa Rosa for a couple days. I was devastated. There were a couple people that were really sad when he left. Obviously when we found out that he went to be with the Lord, we were so happy for him, but there was that, feeling of no air in Santa Rosa. And we miss him very much, and we're so happy for him that he gets to be with Jesus. And we were thinking about this today. My friend Ryan thought about this earlier. Psalm 133. We thought it was totally fitting for Brett. So Psalm 133 says, "Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the collar of his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, which falls on the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord has commanded the blessing, life forevermore." So, kind of in conclusion of all this, myself and the rest of us down here in Santa Rosa, we just want to pass a message along to you guys up in Portland, that we love you guys very, very much, and you guys are welcome down here anytime. Think of this as another home for all of you. It was Brett's home, and it's yours too. And just know that we love you, we care for you so much, and we're praying for you guys every day. So thank you so much for loving and caring for my friend.